to make mini books, you can either buy them online, many brands has them, or you can create them yourself. So I'm using this book, it's 63 pages, and I'm going to make it 4 centimeters. So I'm going to just go ahead and measure the 4 centimeters right here. Draw a straight line. And then I'm just going to do it the width of my ruler. And then you can make a bunch at a time if you want. So you're going to take an X-Acto knife and right at the 4 centimeters, the width of the ruler, I'm going to do that one first. Oops. Take it slowly, just a little at a time. Makes it a whole lot easier. I'm also using this mat underneath so I'm not rooting any furniture. And then this is the 4 centimeters right here. Used to love Frog and Toad as a kid. While I'm doing this, would be a great time for you to like and subscribe so that you don't miss my weekly tutorials. I am normally, you can also use this method with cut and fold. I'm just happy to do mark and fold, but once you create the mini book, you can really treat it like any other book. I'm not quite through it yet. Just keep at it. There we go. And obviously I can make a whole bunch of others right there. So I'm going to show you how to make the cut and fold in this tiny little 4 centimeter book. So everything's the same as you would in a regular book, with the differences being, because all the measurements are much more precise, you have to be super, super careful, because every little tiny measurement you're off will explode in the mini book. So in that way, it's a little bit harder, but everything else is the same. Now, when you make a mini book, you may not have page numbers anymore from when you cut it off. So make sure you take note of how many pages were in the book. So this is 63 pages. If you want a copy of this pattern, you can go ahead onto my Etsy shop. And there's a link below. So make sure you're using the centimeters side of your ruler, and make sure that you put it at the 0 mark, which may not be at the end of your ruler. You're going to make all your marks from the top of the page. So my first one is going to be 0.7 centimeters and 1.2 centimeters. For my second, I'm at 0.7 and 2. And then I'm at 0.7 again, 2.2, 2.3, and 2.5. So very small measurements. We'll mark one more page and then I'll show you how we do the cutting. So 0.7. 2.2. Might be hard to see if depending on the print of your book too. Be aware of that. 2.3 and 2.5. Now because I'm working without page numbers in this book, I'm going to go ahead and put page 9 on the next page that I know that. so that when I go back to the marking, I know exactly where I'm at. So now when you go back and cut, it's going to be hard to know how far back to cut, because typically I do it to the edge of where the print ends. So I cut this piece of cardstock, and I'll just place that in my book each time, and that's how far back I'm going to cut. So make sure you only have one page. Again, when you're working with the minis, everything is just a little bit trickier than you're used to. And I think I'm going to put on my glasses just because it is so fine. So I'm going to cut straight in to where my cardstock is. And just like a typical cut and fold, I'm going to, in this case, because I want the design to pop out and be embossed, I'm going to fold in my odd tabs. So this is tab 1, and leave to tab 2 and tab 3. Now another way you can do this, which might be easier, is you can take this little embossing tool. I happen to get this at the dollar store, and then it might be easier to find where you're at. So we put this in, and then if you want, you can press real hard against it, and now you'll have, it's going to be hard to see in the video, but now you have a line that you can just cut right up to. So different ways you can do this. So again, and the nice thing is when you emboss it, it just folds back real nice. Again, the odd tabs. And this actually embossed more than one page at a time, which was nice if you press real hard. So lots of little cuts. These scissors are micro tips. They have a spring as well, so it makes it really easy to make lots of tiny little cuts. They're by Fiskars. So there's tab 1. Now it's going to get very small because this is teeny tiny little tab 3, and then here's tab 5. This one I can't see the embossing anymore. So again, I'm going to press hard, and that does usually last for a few pages that way. So whether you use the cardstock method combined with the embossing tool, totally up to you how you do it. But I just find that the easiest. So there's tab 1, tab 2 I leave alone, tab 3, 4 is left alone, and 5 is folded. So then I'll go back. Now I know I'm on step 9 because I have it marked, and then I'll continue. So I'll show you when I'm at the halfway point. So at this point, I'm halfway through the butterfly. You can see the wing right here, and then the tiny little antenna right there. So this will continue and then come back up and around, and I'll keep going. So here is my very sweet, tiny little butterfly. Now I want it to pop out a little bit more, so I'm going to add some yellow on the sides. So when you add the yellow, do you see how it's just going to pop out a little bit more? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and tape it in and then cut it to size just because it's so small to work with. I'm just using this double-sided tape right here. And stick that in. Like so. And then and I'm just going to cut it to size. I can see with just adding that little bit of yellow how it really just pops that butterfly out a little bit. There we go. So one side is done, and then I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing to our other side. Put that in. And then trim that to size as well.